also terrifying to make a film and put it out there.
Yeah.
Because how you think about the world is out there in the open. And as a filmmaker, my films have never released nationwide in this way.
Does that make you nervous, or like, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I'm definitely nervous.
The other doesn't stay the other.
Yeah, that traumatic experience of getting in and out of the train.
What do you hope it enables you to do?
The release is first, the victory at Cannes led to the release. So that in itself was great.
What is this process? Like, how does one actually make their independent film?
The good thing is that internationally there are different stages that are available to you.
It could be like, madam, thoda sa facing dijiye na camera pe. Payal madam, have you been papped yet?
No, nobody cares about me that much.
You know, she's won at Cannes twice, not just once. She's a Mumbai girl, and I'm assuming she loves poetry. I made a lot of assumptions about you, Payal. You've been a ghost in my life since, of course, the victory at Cannes this year. Congratulations and welcome to Just Do Filmy.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you, because can you really know a person from their film is something that I've always assumed. And I think that a film is a great mirror into the thoughts of an artist. Do you think that some of your deepest thoughts found space in All We Imagine as Light?
Definitely. I think as filmmakers, your film is you. And
Isn't
you
it?
can't
Yeah.
shy away from that.
Correct.
Which is why it's also terrifying to make a film and put it out there.
Yeah.
Because how you think about the world is out there in the open.
Correct. It's been a roller coaster for you. Okay, that's just like literally saying the least. We've seen all of it. We've seen the anticipation. We've seen the press that happened before. We've seen the buzz before. We've seen the victory. We've seen the speeches. We've seen the dances on the red carpet. Oh my God! Like, I just think there was a week where every newspaper and every media publication had Payal Kapadia on it. I wonder if you were ever prepared for that sort of fame as a human being, and did you expect, or what has changed since then for you?
I definitely did not expect this at all. This film was something that I've been working on for so long that my nose was in it like this and I was working like that in it. So suddenly when it got all this attention, it was a bit overwhelming. But at the end of the day, right now, I'm really thankful for it because I'm getting a distribution, the film is releasing, and so all of it kind of comes to that point. And as a filmmaker, my films have never released nationwide in this way. So it's really something that I'm excited about.
I really wonder what that means to you as a filmmaker whose films, as you said, have not released before. Does that make you nervous, or like, how do you feel about this?
I mean, I'm definitely nervous, but like, it's the first time. So I'm just really, there's a lot of hope also for me that a film like this could release in cinemas, that people might buy a ticket to go watch it. What more can a filmmaker ask for?
Correct, absolutely. Did you grow up watching the movies that we watched in Bollywood, or did you not have the same sort of, viewing patterns as the rest of us?
I watched a lot of films in the cinemas. I watched Bollywood films also. And fortunately, I grew up with very progressive parents who are artistic also. So I would go for a lot of screenings. They will take me for other kind of screenings also, like whether it's to the Russian Center to watch a movie there, or the Alliance Francaise to watch a movie there, or going to film festivals from a very early age, or if there was like an Anand Patwardhan film, we would go to watch that. So, I luckily had a lot of exposure to different kinds of cinema, which I was very lucky to have.
I think it's great because the more you watch, the more you understand the alternative, right?
Yeah.
And your film, rests so beautifully in this alternative realm. Is there a pressure at the box office? Do you know what the box office looks like these days? It's the ones who've been playing this game for many, many years are actually flummoxed because they can't figure it out. So do you care about that at all right now?
I care that people go watch it. So if that means box office, then it means that I do care about it. Because for me, the main thing is that exhibitors feel that they can show films like this, that there's some confidence in that, and that it can sort of reach it can have a life, and it just doesn't get like lost in the crowd of films that every week we get so many releases.
Correct.
So that's one of my main concerns, that I hope people go out to watch it and give it some of their time.
I hope so too, because hey man, I watched the film. Your film was a very meditative experience for me, I must say. Primarily because I'm from the city, and there are so many nuances about the city that I would understand. But even if I wasn't, I'm a woman. And even if I wasn't, I am someone who lives with hope. So I think that there are so many layers to this film, right? So you could be a migrant, and if you're not, you could be a woman. And if you're not, you could be someone who has hopes and dreams and aspirations. These three women are the focus of your story.
Yeah.
But to me, they seem like extensions of one woman. And you can totally, like, this is now going to be, guys, me analyzing. And you can say, no, Annie, you're thinking too much. Did that thought
That
ever
is
come?
absolutely the thought.
Okay.
I was thinking a lot about the chronology and different age as the same journey of one woman, let's say, could be seen. In fact, the film starts with a much older woman also.
Yes.
Who's in her 80s, who's a wonderful actress, Madhu Raja.
Yes.
And starting with her and her life in that moment, and at the end, ending with the three of them and the boy and also another young girl in the cafe dancing.
Correct.
So for me, this whole thing is like a long journey of a woman's life.
Yeah. And the first woman, particularly Madhu Rajaji's character, I love the fact that she opens with her scene where she's hallucinating about meeting her husband. And I'm sorry, guys, spoilers, okay? So please go watch the film. This is why. If you want to watch this interview, you have to like go and watch this film in the theaters, nonetheless. How lucky are you? But towards the end, with Prabha's character, we don't know if she's hallucinating or not, even today. I'll be honest with you. That was a leap of faith that you might have taken as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I do want you to talk to me about that scene. But there's a beautiful callback there, because I think when women are left to themselves, we are left to only imagine the apologies that we never got, the time that we never deserved or never got.
Absolutely.
So was that, why did you choose to keep the character of Prabha's husband in some sort of a confusion?
It's for many reasons, but let me start first with the first part of your question about the older woman in the beginning, because that character comes from my grandmother, who she lived up to the age of 98. And when towards the end of her life, she was having a lot of a hazy feeling with her dreams and reality. So I had told her, why you don't write a diary? So you can kind of come to terms with a lot of what's going on with you in your mind right now. So she started writing a lot that time. And somehow or the other, her husband would feature a lot in these, as if he's actually coming to visit her. And I was thinking a lot about this because this grandfather of mine and her husband, who I never met, died when she was 50. And she lived up to 55. And she lived up to 98. That means like such a long period of her life, she was alone.
Correct.
So I was thinking that even at the end of this, like she's been alone longer than she's been with him, and still he's coming to her in her last days. And she wasn't very fond of him. They didn't have a very good relationship. So I was thinking about all these lingering men in our lives who we don't want also, and still they keep coming back. So
Yes, absolutely.
So this was one of the starting points of the film, that it's always the memory of the person, like you said, that is tying us to this relationship which we don't even want.
Correct.
And I said that I asked her once, I said, have you ever been in love? And she said, no, I've never been in love. I don't know what it feels like to be in love. And I don't know, this moved me a lot. And I was thinking a lot about choice and the person, to be having the choice to be with the person you love, or at least having that love at all. And what is that for even women with a lot of privilege, or who are working, who are financially independent. But there are so many things that tie us to not having that choice.
Correct.
And then the ending of Prabha and her confrontation with her husband. For me, the film is more about herself letting go of her baggage of this marriage, which is really not a marriage, you know. And so for me, it was more important that she purges this man out of her life rather than him coming and saying anything from outside. Because whatever he says or does, it's really about her and how she is navigating this situation. And for me, something that was really bothering me was these two relationships, like Prabha who is in a marriage to somebody she barely knows or kind of just not that close to anymore. And that is supposed to be a very legitimate relationship, as it is a marriage, and everybody will say, oh, she's married and that's her husband. And even she thinks like that. She doesn't want to be with that sweet man who's writing her poems.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
also fine. But the reasons are not fine. That it's because she's married. If she doesn't like him, that is different. Should be the reason. While Anu, who is actually falling in love, but that relationship, everybody is, treating it as something illegitimate. So this kind of contradiction in our society is what
Is insane.
gets me a bit very upset. So that's what the film is about.
I love the fact that you use so much of poetry. I'd love to know, why is it important to you for your films to have this space and this poetry?
I think I'm a bit of an impressionist, so I like very much to think about daily life with some amount of poetry. It keeps me sane. It keeps me happy. Sometimes, and I think as filmmakers, we are very privileged to see daily life with a poetic side to it. Yeah, lens. Like you can be in the most crowded train compartment, and then the way yeah, like there's so many. One girl you'll find who's just at the door and her dupatta is flying outside and she's talking to somebody on the phone, and there's just the way her hair is done and the way she decided to dress up this morning. I don't know, there's something poetic in that, and there's something life-affirming in people's desire to just be themselves and be happy, even in the most difficult circumstances, and that brings me joy as a filmmaker.
Do you have time to people watch?
All the time. I'm perpetually people watching.
Yeah. Do you enjoy it? Do you schedule time to do something specific for your creative process?
I think any that's the good thing about being a filmmaker. Anything you do, you go for a walk can be inspiring. Like I go back in the train, then I will be in the ladies' compartment and I will see girls shopping with those clip walis and the people selling clips and all those things. And there's so much interaction. Everything is interesting.
Correct.
And I think life is more interesting than art can ever be.
You also shot in some really real locations. I do want to ask you, is that a budget thing?
Yeah. That also, and I think that it is quite a lot of budget thing also, because I wanted to shoot in places like the train, the Muhammad Ali Road, or these kind of things. It's not easy to recreate. And so there was this thing, like I said, I want to be very authentic to Mumbai spaces. What does that mean? Small houses
Gullies.
and small, the hospital also is kind of cramped, the apartments are cramped. Now you can't shoot in places like that, because as soon as that camera is half the room.
Correct.
So
Camera lights, you're done. Yeah.
There's no space. But I had a very good location scout. His name is Kishore Sawant, and he's worked with a lot of art house filmmakers before. He's done work with Chaitanya Tamhane as well. So he knows Mumbai at the back of his hand. So he found me locations which had everything that I needed.
Oh, fab.
And for example, the hospital. It's a real hospital, but it was going to be broken down in a few months. So they were like, okay, you want to shoot, you do what you want inside. And they gave all the equipment also, which for some reason seemed like it was from the 80s. I don't know what was up with that equipment, but it worked well for me. So we just shot there. So things like that, we got real locations, but which were shooting friendly.
Correct.
So that, but a lot of the street things, and we just shot with a DSLR. We didn't, we just said, let's do it.
Correct. Now, I love the fact that these three women also are speaking in languages that is familiar to them. And I think that lends a sense of authenticity. It also tells me a lot about this city that I live in, that this city doesn't have everyone who speaks one language. The nurses will speak in Malayalam, and Chayaji will speak in Marathi, and she is from Ratnagiri. I want to ask you, how happy are you beyond just the performance that these women gave you? What did you get at the end of all of it, by putting this little sorority together?
Actually, as people, as artists, as actresses, as human beings, they are all amazing.
Yes.
And it didn't feel like they were coming to do this job, but it was as if we were all making this film, and everybody was really committed and gave me a lot of time. Like, I don't speak Malayalam, so how do I work with a language I don't speak? So thankfully, I had a associate director who's Malayali, and we worked a lot on the lines for one whole year. But even the actresses, they spent a lot of time trying to make the slang, make the region from where they are from accurate.
Correct.
So, like for example, Anu is from Palakkad, so she's using more Palakkad slang, things like that. And they did their own research and finding their own kind of rhythm in the film. And even silences, even if you're not talking, how do you speak without speaking at all? And cinema has that ability.
Correct.
So, but they worked a lot on that. Like, what is she thinking when she's not talking? And these kind of things that it was.
I also think that for people who grew up in the city, that scene where the two of them hurl, those stones at the poster, and what it says, which is, what is it? Privilege for the class. Class for the privilege.
Luxury is a privilege reserved for the privilege or something like this.
Talk to me about your anger against the construction in the city, because we all share it.
I don't know what signs they put up. Every time I go past that area, especially, these... now it's everywhere.
They create new areas. They're like Upper Juhu and Upper Vadala,
Upper
Worli. And you're just like, upper where?
See, I don't have any problem with development, but if it's inclusive. And right now what is happening is that a lot of our spaces are kind of becoming so gentrified that it gives no access to anybody who cannot afford to live there.
Absolutely.
So that's just kind of grabbing our public space.
Correct.
So for me, that was a matter of concern. And the film is based in Lower Parel, Dadar area. And that is something we've seen change so much in 20 years. That it was an area of mills, it was an area where people who worked in the mills had housing, which is systematically being erased. And this was something that made me angry. And those signs kind of are, they put that so forward as to what it is that we want to represent.
Yeah, and they're clearly saying that this is no place for the poor.
Yeah.
And even when you go deeper, even if you go inside the buildings, I mean, something that bothers me today will always be the fact that there are two sorts of lifts. One is for residents and the other one is for staff. Or outsiders, as they say. But these are the same people who work and build that city, right? But it is such a unique Mumbai problem. Okay, and at the same time, it's so universal. Because I just feel that there is no accountability of the erasure of entire people, because where are you going to put Parvati? Parvati's house is going, but there is no plan in place for rehabilitating her. She has no choice but to leave, and she has to go back to the village. But this is something that really shines through for me, because I've seen this city change. I remember going to sleep once in a taxi, Kali Pili, and suddenly waking up at the junction, and there were these construction boards of the metro. For the first time in my life of 30 plus years, I didn't know where I was in Mumbai. When you wake up and you're like, where am I? Because nothing looks familiar. Because the city is going through an entire facelift. And at what cost? What is important for you as a Mumbaikar, for Mumbai to do for itself? Like, have you thought about it? Are you the sort who will also, outside of the films, sign PILs? Outside of the films, go in and tell them that, ye nahi karna chahiye. How do you navigate that?
For me, the most important thing at the moment with seeing the stuff that is going on, that we are making this coastal road, and of course that does reduce the traffic. But what is important is to improve also the public transport. So there is accessibility and comfort for everybody who needs to go up and down every day in Mumbai. And without that, there's no point building more roads. Because it serves the purpose of very few people who have cars. And that also, you have to pay a toll. So who really has the access to that? But it's good that they are making more metro lines, and that's, I think, will only be good. And people will at least be able to, avoid that up and down. That there are more, and that Dadar doesn't become a
traumatic,
that traumatic experience of getting in and out of the train there. So I think that progress needs to be thought about from every point of view.
At this stage, do you think your win at Cannes, what will it enable you to do? Okay, and the release. What do you hope it enables you to do?
The release is, first, the victory at Cannes led to the release. So that in itself was great. And I just, like to be independently making films and to continuously raise money the way I do. I just hope I can continue to do that, and that it's a little bit easier next time, because it took a long time, 5 years to do this. Maybe hopefully next time it will be a little less.
Little quicker. But I like how, you know, I'm sorry to say, but like my mother, if I tell her, Mama, you know, I've got a promotion. She'll be like, that's amazing, because now I will come by train to you and I'll go back by bus. We're like, what? Like, I got a promotion, you come by cab and go by cab. But I just feel like even with indie filmmakers, you're not like, I'm going to make a massive film. You're like, I still want to make another indie film.
Yeah, because I enjoy the freedom I get doing that. There's very little like resting on the success of a film, because the main thing is that it gets made, and there's no that I should compromise the script or the things I want to talk about because of an end result. That's never the agenda when you're applying the way that I do for funding.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that I don't think about the audience. Of course I do. That would be completely ridiculous.
Correct.
But it's still, it's you have to find that balance, and that is for you to find.
Correct.
And the thing is that, yeah, of course, even when you're applying for commissions, you are writing your script in a way that those commissioners understand it. But the good thing is you can make whatever you want to make. So
correct. Do you want to tell us, for filmmakers who probably take a lot of inspiration from you at this point, what is this process? Like, how does one actually make their independent film?
The good thing is that internationally there are different stages that are available to you.
Okay.
So when I started out, I applied for a residency to write the film, and that residency gave me a stipend, like a kind of a salary, to write and live. And then after that I applied to a market where I presented the script to people. I met co-producers there who heard me pitch. And then I started applying for different grants, because I needed to do research. I had to go to Ratnagiri. I had to do research in Mumbai.
Correct.
So when I applied for just a grant of research.
Okay.
So like that, there are several steps. One is a development, one is, just for research, one is for casting. So that there are different grants, and then there is for shooting, and then there's for post-production.
Correct.
So
हर step पे आपको पैसे मांगने पड़े हैं.
हाँ. But it's not like it's a lot, like a big budget film or even a medium budget film here.
Correct.
But it's enough. And if maybe like it's enough that it's like a small cottage industry and a lot of people are involved in it.
Where things move.
Yeah, where things move. So I think it's possible to make films with not very big budgets, so that even if it's not, say, a big hit, at least every check, there are checks and balances to recover what they was spent.
Correct.
And I like this system, and how it is funded in France is very interesting, which I really liked as an idea. Is that actually every film that releases in cinemas there, suppose the ticket is 100 rupees, let's say. Every film that is released will have to give, say, 10% of their ticket sale revenue to a fund. And that fund then goes, like you suppose an independent filmmaker can apply to that fund. And then when your film is ready, you will also be charged 10%. And that will go back to the fund.
It's like paying it forward.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's amazing.
And then if a film like Avengers comes along, then that 10% is so much.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And,
so this is for any film that releases.
Any film. So even if it was like, suppose if we had that system here, it's not government funding per se. It's the industry funding itself.
Correct.
That means you're taking a little bit of a big profit and putting it into a fund where somebody can make a film for very less.
Correct.
So why not
Who
support
needs it?
that?
Correct.
Yeah, and have a body that can exist.
Can do
Then
that.
if a film makes a lot of money, even 5% or of a ticket, one ticket price can add up, no?
Correct, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
wouldn't that be nice?
I remember when you won at Cannes, a lot of people claimed you as their own. They were quick to do that. They were like, "Hamari ladki, yaar, FTI ki ladki," and then SEM also, like SEM ki ladki. Yay! What can we do to be better to our indie filmmakers? As a country, as institutions, how can we do better?
This is one way that the French have done, which I think is really great, because we do have very profitable industries, and just 1% of that could really help to support independent filmmakers. I think that having, I've seen a lot of people also having to go to find private money to get films, but that again takes away some amount of freedom. So it would be so good to have like some funds which which are, like scholarships.
Correct. Of
To
course.
support people and to have representation within that also, which is, which only doesn't look at one kind of filmmaker, but understands that we have many identities in our country that also need to make films and have
Of course.
representation. In Kerala, for example, there are 2 funds they've made, which is for underrepresented castes as well as women filmmakers.
Yes.
So that's, I think, is a step forward, and it would be great to have more of that. I think even having some cinemas which keep slots for independent filmmakers would be nice.
Exhibitors you're talking about, of course. Yeah.
Because, like a lot of times I've seen people make films and work so hard, and the film gets made, everything is done, but there's nowhere to show it.
Sure.
So besides festivals, if there were distributors like Spirit now, who's distributing our film, for whom doing a smaller film can be part of their larger fold,
Correct.
I think that would be very helpful for independent filmmakers. And lastly, it's the audience. If they give independent films a chance and go to the cinemas and buy a ticket, wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot that all of us can do. Before I go, I do want to ask you, what has been the most bizarre request made to you since you won at Cannes by anybody? It could be family, it could be media, it could be friends.
Bizarre.
It could be like, madam, thoda sa facing dijiye na camera pe. Payal madam. Have you been packed yet?
No, nobody cares about me that much.
Oh, come on!
I've only had some very, very weird film pitches that I get, that you want to direct this movie and the script will be like a supernatural musical or something like this. Yeah, and it's not even in India, in other parts of the world. So I'm always like, oh, this is interesting. But yeah, one always learns something from every interaction. So I always enjoy.
Yeah, like bring it on, guys.
Let's hear what it is.
Oh my God. I could, honestly do another coffee and talk to you more about just the film again. But today's, sort of sit down was to ask you so many questions, as I said, over the last 6 months that I've had. And I think that for today, I think we'll say thank you so much, Payal, for being on my show. I hope you enjoyed the chat.
No, it was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Payal Kapadia and I'm on Just Do Filmy.